Um, there is ways to stop foreclosure auctions. One way is by filing bankruptcy. And just like not going through with it, but it will stop the foreclosure auction. But I don't know if that would work while it's in a probate, because he technically doesn't own the property yet.
Right, right.
So, man, that's a tough one. I'd like, see you later. I'd like to post that scenario in the community. Maybe someone who markets in that area can at least give some sort of advice, because he's getting more urgent to get this deal closed. You could, how far is it behind in taxes or in foreclosure?
Not that much. So the sad thing is he's a really old man and he filed or he got a HELOC, right? Him and his brother, I think, got a HELOC, and it's only 55,000. And that's what's taking it to foreclosure, because they haven't paid on that HELOC.
How long ago did they get the HELOC?
I want to say a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like he might be an old man, but he probably never planned on paying the HELOC to begin with. And if you had in a call,
Yeah.
he would have been happy with his 55 grand. But okay, so 55 grand, 2 years, it might be maybe 10 grand, if that, in back payments, potentially. If I had the probate attorney if this was me and I had the probate attorney and I had this under at a good price, so that would be like, knowing this deal and what numbers you've told me, I think that'd be closer to like 110,000 is what I'd probably want it at, somewhere around there.
I'm glad, because that's the number I came up with as my max, is 110. I'm gonna go 1 to 110. Yeah.
I would say 1 to 110. And if I had the probate attorneys in contact and the property was pulling through and there wasn't any other liens or anything, and I would have sent it to title already and had them run it up and figure out what all is clear. I would risk, if I had a chance to make, let's say, 50,000 on a flip, I would risk the 10,000 if it was me. I'm not saying do that, because there's different scenarios there, but I would put the money in a deal and I would add my lien to the property, and then I would hold that against it. I've done the same thing for tax auctions, where I've saved properties from tax auctions by, there was no other time could happen. It's either I let the 50 grand slip or I pay the $5,000 in taxes. Worst case, what happens to me is the seller doesn't sell to me. There is always a level of risk involved in order to close certain deals, and the companies that do a lot of volume have these reserves in place to make sure they can do this, right? That's not always the case with solopreneurs, but it's something that in this scenario, if this was the situation and I did have the probate attorney on file and I could get in contact with him, but it was going to foreclosure, probate was taking too long, I would first try to get the probate attorney to stop the foreclosure, first of all. If that didn't work and the bank really wanted their money, I would end up just paying it.
And you're not saying pay the whole 55. You're saying pay enough to catch it up and bring it into good standing.
Yeah,
right?
take up their arrears. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And get the property caught up. That way, I could still have this in my life, because I mean, and it depends on how far probate stuff is. I definitely have my risk tolerance, but that, if it's in no shape, I mean, looking at the property, I mean, it's a nice condition property, I mean, it needs updated inside. But looking at the video, it's a perfectly fine property. It's all day long, an easy flip. And yeah, I would totally do that. I mean, it might even be less than 10 grand. It might only be like 5 or 6 grand. I'm guessing the 55,000 HELOC, it's probably like, $300 a month or something like that, payment on that, something like that. So it's probably pretty cheap. So I would look into that. The other thing I would have definitely done right now is I would have called another probate attorney in the area and said, this probate is not, this probate attorney is uncontactable. Is there anything that you could do to get this started? It's going to auction, and just figure out what they would say. A lot of times probate attorneys won't or attorneys in general won't step on other attorneys like toes and try to like take over a deal, but another attorney can just be like pull the file and just like, handle it. So that
Okay.
would be another thing I would reach out to. Try to call other probate attorneys in the area and see if anybody can tell you what's going on and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll give that a try. And also, the only thing holding me back, well, another concern with paying the arrears is that it's not just him, but it's him and his brother on that HELOC. So it's two people that got to sign. And I haven't spoke with his brother. So, if his brother's not okay signing at the 100,000 purchase price, then you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
I
got
would have
him.
both people sign. I would have both people sign on before I would spend any money on that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. And then to bring back around to the original question with a finding the data in the county. So for me specifically, and I know everyone's county is different, so I know it doesn't apply to anyone else. For me, like notice a default, for example, if I were trying to do foreclosures, notice a default would be something good to pull. But from what I'm looking through and all the different records, I can't find that. I can find the lis pendens and I can find the foreclosure case, but when I look through the case docket, I don't see any notice of default being filed. I see the complaint. They call it a
Yeah.
complaint. Yeah.
A lot of states don't do notice defaults, so you
Okay.
might not have one. Yeah.
That makes sense then. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. No problem. Sweet.